Roman Prokopchuk is a first-generation immigrant from Lviv, Ukraine. Roman founded Nova Zora Digital in 2012, a full-service digital marketing agency where he has helped clients like celebrity chef Robert Irvine reach success through online digital marketing. Roman also started the Digital Savage Experience podcast, where he interviews industry leaders, athletes, authors, and anyone with motivational journeys to learn from their experiences. Roman and his wife became foster parents in June 2018. Since then, they've had 9 foster kids in their home. Roman tries to help anyone he can gain value from his life experience.
I was just reading some of your background. You've had 9 foster kids that you've helped.
Yeah, I mean, at this point it's 10. So that's, I mean, I don't mind getting as personal as possible because I've shared it on many interviews. Me and my wife have been doing like infertility treatments for the last 3 years. And as a result, I paid like $80,000 out of pocket for that. But the unfortunate thing, we've had 5 miscarriages in that period of time.
Wow.
2 of which were on back-to-back Christmases, which was pretty depressing. But as a result, we're still trying, but we said, we can possibly help other kids. So we're doing foster to adopt. Like one kind of setback thing was we got licensed in June 2018, and then we had our first placement, 2 boys, 17 months and 3 years old. They were with us for a year. We thought we were going to adopt them, and they ended up getting reunified 3 months ago. So, I mean, that was hard. We've had some like short-term placements, emergency placements, and 3 weeks ago we got our first long-term, set of siblings since, they went back to their biological parents. So at this point it's 10, but yeah, they go in and go out sometimes very quickly, and some are long-term. But yeah, it's kind of rewarding, and it's interesting balancing with the podcast, doing interviews, my business, and that as well. So
yeah. That's I'm sorry to hear about the miscarriages, but that's amazing that you guys have been able to be a blessing in 10 separate kids' lives because of that. So
yeah, it's definitely rewarding. It like puts your life and priorities definitely in perspective.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of, as I was just gathering information on you when we were getting ready for the podcast, I was pretty excited about the, you're a lot like I am, it sounds like, stepping out and doing stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Talking about skydiving and swimming with sharks and
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I hate heights, and it was basically one of those like bet things on my birthday. So like a bunch of my friends just started talking crap, like, "Oh, you're not gonna do it, you're not gonna do it." So I'm like, "All right, whatever. You dare me to do it, I'll do it." And it's funny, the people that dared me, then I said, like, "Do you want to go another time?" And they're like, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." So it's like, I mean, it was definitely, I don't know if I would do it again because I fly a lot, and I basically envision myself crashing every time I get on a plane. That's how much anxiety I have. And I still fly. We flew a lot, like to get our mind off of the boys. And we had a family reunion in Hawaii. My wife's family's from Hawaii. So flying from New Jersey to Vegas, making a layover to visit her dad, then going to LA to Hawaii, and then the back trip. And then I was at a podcast conference last year. So back and forth, last month, to Florida. So, and the shark thing my wife wanted to do, and she ended up getting seasick. So I had to like document it all and hold the GoPro and all that. But
oh man, that's funny. I love people that step out though and do things that are out of their comfort zone, and it's I think that's a huge thing that successful people do. You'll see them. Everybody's pushing their boundaries, and
yeah, I think that's where like the most growth happens too. So
it's awesome.
Because if not, you're going to be complacent and never really probably regret it. Years down the line, I should have did this, like in terms of starting something or conquering a fear in that sense also.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your personal definition of success?
It's basically, giving back and having a legacy. So, the last, 2-3 years, I've been trying to be focused more on kind of giving back and letting that speak for itself, and not really selling like a product or a service. But if somebody has a question on social media or whatever, I'm more than happy. I give a lot of like my free time pro bono work to work with different nonprofits and stuff. So I think kind of just giving that or laying that legacy and helping other people, and hopefully they kind of reciprocate it down the line, and obviously being remembered for that. Because I think, when you're remembered favorably or remembered in general, whenever you, move on and, pass away, that's what makes you kind of live on in other people's kind of minds and hearts.
That's awesome. And do you incorporate that in your business? That it's Nova Zora Digital, right? Did I say that correctly?
Yep. I mean, I try. I mean, I try to work with clients and companies that kind of share the same vision, and people that are, looking to scam other people or get ahead in a certain way. We may not mesh professionally. So kind of myself and having a company I work with as an extension of who I am and who my business is.
That's cool. Can you share the steps that you take daily to improve?
Yeah, sure. I think I wake up. Obviously, I have foster kids, so it involves taking them to daycare. But when I get back and take care of some other stuff, because I work remotely most of the time from my home office, basically have a vision board kind of, and trying to manifest things that I have in terms of goals or places I want to reach, and then the steps that I need to take and where am I in those steps. Also trying to learn at least one thing a day, something new or something that I may want to get into, let's say like real estate investment, or, something in terms of different companies for stock trading, or, the hot thing is crypto, although it's all over the place now. Just kind of reading up on things and being at least, fluent in that. If I get into something or if I need something done for my company or need to outsource it, I at least know kind of the framework, so I understand what people are doing and if they are doing it correctly. And read as well. I mean, I tend to listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks as I kind of work, so I consume that content as much as I can and kind of write down the main points and then go back and revisit it at a later date.
That's awesome. I do a lot of podcasts and audiobooks, and I think that's a huge thing to help out with, just constantly bringing in new information and learning.
Yeah, I think without it, you kind of get complacent. And I think a lot of people, whether they work for themselves or another company, they feel like maybe they get to a place and they don't need to learn more, a senior role or an executive role. And I think constantly learning and redefining yourself, you avoid being complacent and you still stay hungry in that sense.
What is your advice for someone making an important decision?
I think to sit down and really think about it. Obviously, something or some, life decisions are really important things you have to make on the fly. But if you do have the time, kind of evaluate, the pros and cons, or think about it rationally, because a lot of decisions in the moment are driven by emotion. So taking out the emotion out of the equation and basically, evaluating it from kind of a data, a strictly, disconnected kind of emotion manner to make the right decision. Because a lot of the time, and having the emotional IQ to do so and kind of reevaluate, how it's going to affect someone else, how it's going to affect you. So kind of having a well-rounded thought of decision and not kind of jumping the gun, if you will.
Okay. Can you tell me about a specific moment that set you on the path where you are now?
Yeah, I think getting into digital marketing. So I basically graduated in 2008 from Rutgers University with a degree in criminal justice, prior to which I interned with the Secret Service on the counterfeit currency squad. I had a top secret clearance, which was awesome and cool as a college student. But I graduated when the economy basically tanked. So people with degrees higher than me couldn't find a job. So I was looking for jobs, in criminal justice, but the government basically froze funds. So state, local, and federal agencies, put a hiring freeze. I couldn't find anything. I was kind of down, depressed at that point for months and months looking for a job. So all I really did to stay sane was go to the gym daily, and that kind of kept me on the right path. And there was people at the gym. One person basically, saw I had, potential and was hungry and knew I didn't have a job at the moment. And then he said, come out to my car. Let me give you something. He gave me a packet about search engine optimization. And then from there, I read it, and he said, take a month or two, read it, and you can jump in and do kind of digital marketing for my company. So I read that packet, read everything else I could online about search engine optimization and other digital marketing disciplines. And then from there, basically, that's where I got my start in digital marketing.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a big jump going from criminal justice to search engine optimization. But sounds like you've been very successful in the company that you've built because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I worked for a lot of companies as well. I've been in a lot of director roles, worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies and on their accounts, and basically trying to diversify thinking about that search engine optimization. Well, you should know something that's kind of your pillar of knowledge, but also know the ecosystem. So then I learned social media. It was still in its infancy, paid social, paid search, content strategy, and kind of the whole gambit of digital marketing, and became a more well-rounded digital marketer as a result.
That's great. If you could recommend one book for our audience, what would that be?
A book I personally read is Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, some people like him, some people don't, but I take the digital marketing advice he gives over that kind of motivational, advice he usually does in his keynotes, which is great as well, but there's a lot of hidden gems a lot of the time in what he's saying if you just listen. And it's great because a lot of case studies are in that book in terms of how people applied some of the things that he's mentioned over the years. And I think it was just kind of well-rounded, digital marketing focused book.
Okay. What character traits do you value the most in others?
I think honesty. I've turned down a lot of stuff in terms of business and different, high profile relationships in terms of kind of networking and friendships that, didn't align with who I am, and it wouldn't be genuine if I kind of took that business or, made those connections. So I think honesty and integrity and basically just being a trustworthy person that kind of does what he says, because there's a lot of people you meet oftentimes, especially when you network or at a conference, that, you small talk, okay, we'll connect, or, I'm going to make this introduction or do this or do that and never follow through. So I think someone that kind of delivers on their word, I think is one of the most important things that I think I have and that I value in other people.
Okay. And you talked about this a little bit earlier, before the show started here, but how do you push through worst times, or how do you push through tough times?
I think with the network around me and then just having a positive focus. People are always talking about positivity and, drive on podcast interviews. But as I've said on other interviews, there's no one that's 100% positive or focused, 100% of the time. So regardless of, what you see in social media about someone or, what they portray, those people have hard times as well and often fall and, lose their motivation. But it's kind of getting back on track as fast as possible and leaning on your, support system. Some people don't have, close family members. Some people lean on friends. So whoever you have around you, don't be afraid to share what you're going through and not hold it in, because I know in terms of kind of the startup scene and entrepreneurialism and kind of the tech industry, there's a lot of founders that often struggle with depression and don't really say a lot to people or say anything about it. And there's a high rate of, suicide in those, situations as well. So I think it's important to, if something is bothering you, share it and, be vulnerable in that sense.
Okay, that's great advice. What inspires you?
I think my family, my friends, obviously we spoke about me fostering. So the foster kids that, stay in my home, if they stay for a day, a week, a year, a month, whatever, being a great example. I think a lot of people, kind of outweigh being an example or role model. Some people don't want to be it. But I think as adults, other people look at us, whether it's colleagues or, kids, your kids, kids in your, children's class, teams you coach, you're constantly, giving off a reputation and kind of a aura. and the energy that you're putting out. So basically putting out positive energy and having other people kind of see that and benefit people in that way, and having that support system around you and providing for them and seeing kind of them grow and flourish with you.
Okay. How do you manage and prioritize opportunities?
I mean, oftentimes it's hard when you're trying to manage, family, friends, fostering, podcasting, blogging, interviews, and everything else in between. So kind of setting a priority, what's important to you, what arises, if it's a business opportunity or something in the family that's important, regardless of what it is, I'll drop anything. If there's an emergency with the family, obviously that supersedes anything from, personal, like, a hobby or professional life. But in terms of business, basically prioritizing what's going to add the most value in terms of growth or opportunity. And if possible, automating or, getting things off my plate that aren't, necessarily important to like the overall growth of, a project or the company, and focusing on the things that kind of really move the needle.
Okay, perfect. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
To listen and not kind of jump to conclusions. And at 18, obviously, you don't have the emotional IQ built up over time from the experiences you've, had as you grow older. At this point, last month, I turned 35, which is crazy. And thinking about it from my perspective, it's, another lifetime from 18. But not being quick to jump to conclusions and thinking about the other party. So if you're in an office or, you're remote and you're dealing with somebody, you may be upset that they didn't do something or do something correctly or whatever the situation is. Step back from the situation and think about that they may be going through something personal or otherwise that's causing that, and see if you can help or just be a support in that sense and maybe resolve what the issue is. So kind of stop, think about, your actions before you actually do them, and not be necessarily driven by emotion in that sense, but really evaluate what's going on or if you should be reacting the way you're reacting in that moment.
Perfect. That's some great insight you shared. What are good ways that people can get a hold of you on social media? If they're interested in your digital marketing services, or what's the best way for people to contact you?
Yep. So, I'm on every social platform. So, Roman Prokopchuk on Instagram, Nova Zora Digital, or Digital Savage Experience is my podcast. So any of those on any platform, really. You can find me. LinkedIn, I have a pretty strong presence, both personal and my podcast. So if you want to connect with me or send me a message or have any questions about digital marketing, or you feel like you're a good fit to come on as a guest, you can always, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to connect.
Perfect, Roman. I'll send you I'll connect you with you on LinkedIn and some other places where I know we're already connected on Facebook and those areas. But and I'll also send you the show, the Facebook and YouTube and all the links for the podcast today. So
no, that's great. Time. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.